Hey everybody, ready for another deep dive with me? Today we're tackling a topic that I think is super fascinating. Idioms.
And I completely agree.
Yeah. These phrases, they can be tricky.
They really can.
But once you unlock them, they can make your English sound
Oh, yeah. So much more.
so much more natural and fluent.
Right.
So today we're going to dive into
We're going to look at
15 idioms
Yes. It really indicates
that indicate
a high level of fluency.
a high level of English fluency.
Yes.
So we're going to have some fun with this, and some of these are
Yeah, some of them are pretty
out there.
out there.
Yeah, like hoist with one's own petard. Now, what does that even mean?
Haha. Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay,
We're going to cover all of them.
awesome. So let's start with one that maybe you've heard before. Bite the bullet.
Ah, yes, bite the bullet. This means to face a difficult or unpleasant situation head on with courage and determination.
It's like when you just got to do something you really don't want to do.
Exactly. Like going to the dentist.
Ugh. Yeah, the dentist. Nobody likes going to the dentist.
Exactly. But sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and go.
And get it over with, right?
Exactly.
But I heard there's a historical connection to this idiom, something about soldiers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Before anesthesia was common, surgeons on the battlefield would give soldiers a bullet to bite on during painful procedures
Wow, that's...
to help them endure the pain.
Ouch. I can't even imagine. Talk about tough.
Yeah, definitely gives a whole new meaning to bite the bullet.
For sure. Okay, so we've tackled facing our fears. How about getting organized? That's where get your ducks in a row comes in.
Get your ducks in a row means to get everything organized and prepared before taking action.
It's like before you go on vacation, you got to book your flights, pack your bags, make sure the pet sitter's all set.
Exactly. It's about creating order out of chaos, making sure everything's in place before you move forward.
So you're not scrambling at the last minute.
Exactly.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that person.
No, definitely not. And it's interesting how this idiom uses such a simple image, right? Ducks in a row. But it conveys such a complex idea.
It's so true. That's the beauty of idioms, I think. They can be so vivid and memorable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we faced our fears, we've gotten organized. What other skills do these idioms reveal?
Well, let's talk about the art of not being a wet blanket.
Ooh, I think we all know a wet blanket or two.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, it's that person who just brings the mood down.
Right. Always negative, always complaining, just kind of sucks the energy out of the room.
Yeah, like they just throw a wet blanket over the whole party.
Exactly. So if you can recognize and avoid being a wet blanket, you're showing a high level of social intelligence.
And sensitivity too, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you're saying, hey, I'm not just fluent in the words, I'm fluent in the whole social situation.
Exactly.
Okay, this is fascinating. What else do we have?
Let's move on to the importance of reliable information with straight from the horse's mouth.
Oh yeah, this one's about getting the facts from the most trustworthy source.
Right. Like imagine hearing about a new company policy, not from a coworker or through the grapevine, but directly from the CEO.
Yeah, no gossip, just the real deal.
Exactly.
So you know it's legit.
Exactly. You're getting the information directly from the source so you can be sure it's accurate.
I love how visual that idiom is too. Like, can you picture actually getting information from a horse's mouth?
Haha, not really. But that image really sticks with you, doesn't it?
It does, and it makes the meaning so much clearer.
Exactly. That's the power of idioms.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What's next?
Let's talk about a phrase that's all about reading the signs. The writing on the wall.
Ooh, that one sounds a bit ominous.
It can be.
Yeah.
It means recognizing that something is likely to happen, even if it hasn't been explicitly stated.
So it's like sensing trouble is brewing, even if nobody's actually said anything.
Exactly. Think about a relationship that's falling apart. Maybe there are constant arguments, broken promises, missed calls.
Ooh, yeah, the red flags.
Exactly. Those are all signs that things aren't going well, even if no one's actually said, we need to break up.
So if you can see the writing on the wall, you're basically a relationship detective.
That's one way to put it. But seriously, it shows a high level of perceptiveness.
And an ability to read between the lines.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm feeling more perceptive already. What else do we have?
Let's dive into the world of aging with the phrase, long in the tooth.
Long in the tooth. I'm not sure I've heard that one before.
It's a bit more old-fashioned, but it basically means to be getting older.
Okay.
You might say an athlete is getting a bit long in the tooth if they're past their prime.
So it's not exactly a compliment,
Not necessarily, no.
but it's not meant to be offensive either.
Right. It's more of a humorous observation about the aging process.
And using it correctly shows that you have a good grasp of the subtleties of the English language.
Exactly. You wouldn't use it in every situation.
Okay, got it. So we've faced our fears, we've gotten organized, we've avoided being a wet blanket, we've gotten the facts straight from the source, we've read the writing on the wall, and now we're aging gracefully.
All in a day's work.
Uh-huh, exactly.
Mhm.
So what's next on our idiom adventure?
Let's talk about a phrase that warns against futility. Beat a dead horse.
Ooh. Okay, that one sounds,
Not very pleasant.
yeah, not very pleasant at all. And I think I get the gist of it, like continuing to argue a point that's already been settled.
Exactly. It's about knowing when to let go, when to move on. If you keep arguing after the matter is decided, you're just wasting everyone's time and energy.
It's like trying to revive something that's, well, already dead.
Precisely. So being able to recognize when to stop beating a dead horse shows a level of maturity and respect for others.
It's about picking your battles, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a good life lesson no matter what language you speak.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Mm.
what else do we have?
Let's talk about hidden agendas with the phrase, have an axe to grind.
Ooh, that one sounds sneaky.
It can be.
Yeah, like someone's got an ulterior motive.
Exactly. They might be acting like they're trying to help, but really they have a personal reason for doing what they're doing.
So like someone who's constantly criticizing their coworker.
Right. Maybe they're trying to undermine them or make themselves look better.
Office politics.
Exactly.
So if you can spot someone who has an axe to grind, you're basically a master of reading people.
Haha. Well, maybe not a master, but it definitely shows that you can see beyond the surface and understand people's motivations.
Okay, this is getting deep.
It is. Language is so much more than just words, isn't it?
It really is. Okay, I'm ready for more. What's next?
Let's talk about the importance of conformity with the phrase, toe the line.
Toe the line. Okay, I'm picturing a tugboat pulling a giant ship. So maybe it means to follow the rules, to conform to expectations.
You got it. It means to adhere to a set of rules or principles, often without questioning them.
So like a soldier following orders.
Exactly, or an employee who always does exactly what their boss says, even if they disagree.
Okay, so it can have both positive and negative connotations.
Definitely. It depends on the context.
And being able to recognize when someone's towing the line and why shows a deep understanding of the situation.
Absolutely.
Wow, these idioms are like little windows into human behavior.
They really are.
Okay, I'm ready for more. What else is on our idiom list?
Let's explore close proximity with the phrase, cheek by jowl.
Cheek by jowl. Okay, that one's new to me. And it sounds a bit, well,
Cozy.
yeah, Cody, like really close together.
Exactly. It means to be very close to something or someone, often in a crowded or cramped space.
So like passengers on a packed subway car.
Perfect example. They're all crammed in there, cheek by jowl.
You could practically feel the lack of personal space just thinking about it.
Uh-huh, exactly. And this idiom is so vivid and evocative, isn't it? It really paints a picture in your mind.
It does. That's what I love about these phrases. They're not just words, they're mini stories.
I agree, and that's what makes them so memorable and engaging.
Okay, this is fascinating. I'm starting to see how these idioms are like little keys that unlock a deeper understanding of the English language and culture.
Absolutely, and we've still got more to uncover. Are you ready for the next one?
Bring it on. What do we have?
Let's talk about final acts with the phrase swan song.
Swan song. That sounds kind of poetic.
It is. It refers to a final performance or achievement before retirement or the end of a career.
So like a musician's farewell tour.
Exactly, or an athlete's last game before they retire.
It's like their final moment in the spotlight, a chance to say goodbye.
And it's interesting how this idiom connects to the legend that swans sing a particularly beautiful song just before they die.
Ooh, that's a bit morbid, but also kind of beautiful.
It is. It adds a layer of bittersweetness to the idiom.
So it's not just about endings, it's about appreciating the beauty and significance of those endings.
Precisely.
Wow, these idioms are full of surprises.
They really are. Are you ready for another one?
Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Okay, let's talk about those early warning signs again with the phrase, canary in a coal mine.
We touched on this one earlier, but I'm eager to hear more.
Of course. So, as we discussed, miners used to bring canaries down into the mines with them because the birds were highly sensitive to dangerous gases.
Like a natural alarm system.
Exactly. If the canary died, it was a sign for the miners to evacuate immediately.
Smart. So, in everyday English, a canary in the coal mine is basically anything that signals a potential problem or danger.
Precisely. It could be a drop in sales for a company, a rise in crime rates in a city, or even a change in your own health.
So it's about being observant, about noticing those subtle signs that something bigger might be going on.
Exactly. It's about thinking critically and connecting the dots, even when the signs seem small or insignificant at first.
This is so insightful. It's like these idioms aren't just about language, they're about life skills.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, what else do we have on our list today?
Let's talk about those times when winning comes at a cost, with a Pyrrhic victory.
Ooh, that one's interesting. It's like a win that feels like a loss.
Exactly. Imagine a company winning a major lawsuit, but the legal fees were so high that they end up going bankrupt.
Ouch. That's a victory that nobody wants.
Exactly. A Pyrrhic victory is a win that comes at such a high cost that it's ultimately not worth it.
So it's a reminder to consider the potential downsides of achieving our goals.
Absolutely. Sometimes the pursuit of victory can be blinding, and we need to step back and ask ourselves, is this really worth it?
That's a powerful message for sure. Okay, what's next?
Let's talk about those seemingly impossible problems with the phrase a Gordian knot.
A Gordian knot. Okay, that sounds mythical.
It is. It comes from the legend of Alexander the Great.
Ah, yes. The guy who cut through a knot that nobody could untie.
Exactly. So a Gordian knot refers to any problem that seems incredibly difficult or impossible to solve.
So like a political deadlock or a scientific mystery.
Exactly. And the idiom suggests that sometimes the best way to solve a Gordian knot is not to try to untangle it in the traditional way, but to find a bold and unexpected solution.
To think outside the box.
Exactly. Like Alexander slicing through the knot with his sword.
Wow, that's a great story. And it makes the meaning of the idiom so much clearer.
Absolutely. It's another example of how idioms can be so vivid and memorable.
Okay, I'm ready for our final idiom challenge. What do we have?
Let's see if you can crack the code of hoist with one's own petard.
Ooh, hoist with one's own petard. It's a mouthful,
It is.
and I have absolutely no idea what it means.
Don't worry, it's a tricky one. It means to be harmed or defeated by one's own schemes or actions.
Ooh, like poetic justice.
Exactly. It's like a scammer getting scammed or a bully getting bullied.
So it's about the consequences of our actions coming back to bite us.
Precisely. And the word petard is interesting. It refers to a type of explosive device used in medieval warfare.
So to be hoist with your own petard is like being blown up by your own bomb.
Haha, exactly.
Okay, I'm definitely going to remember that one.
It's a classic.
It is. Well, I have to say, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of idioms.
It has.
I've learned so much,
Me too.
and I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to these quirky phrases.
I think we all should. They really add so much richness and depth to the language.
They do. So on that note, let's take a short break, and then we'll come back and continue our idiom exploration.
And we're back. I'm still thinking about all those fascinating idioms we talked about.
Me too. It's
Yeah.
amazing how much history and culture is packed into those little phrases.
I know. So are we ready to uncover some more?
Absolutely.
Where should we go next?
Well, we talked a bit about the writing on the wall, which is like a general sense of impending doom.
Right.
But what about those times when there's a more specific warning sign, a clear indicator that trouble's brewing?
You're talking about a canary in the coal mine.
Exactly. That one always intrigued me. Can you remind us, what's the story behind that phrase?
Sure. So back in the day, coal miners would bring canaries down into the mines with them.
Canaries. Like the little yellow birds.
The very same. And the reason they did this is because canaries are incredibly sensitive to poisonous gases, especially methane and carbon monoxide.
Ah, I
So
see.
if the canary suddenly stopped singing, or worse, keeled over, it was a clear sign for the miners to evacuate immediately.
Like a little feathered alarm system.
Exactly. A very effective one, too. So how does this translate to everyday English?
Well, I'm guessing it means any early warning sign of a bigger problem.
You got it. Think of it as a metaphor. For example, if a company starts laying off employees, that could be a canary in the coal mine for a struggling economy.
Or if a certain species of animal starts disappearing from an ecosystem.
Precisely. It could indicate environmental damage or a disruption in the food chain.
So it's about being observant, about noticing those subtle changes that might signal something more serious is going on.
Exactly. And being able to connect the dots, even when the signs seem small or insignificant at first glance.
It's like having a sixth sense for trouble.
Haha, in a way, yes. And to use this idiom correctly, you need to understand not just the definition, but also the historical context that gives it its power.
It's not just about sounding smart. It's about being smart.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for our next idiom adventure?
Always. What do we have?
Let's talk about those times when winning comes at a cost.
Ooh, that sounds intriguing.
It is. It's captured in the phrase a Pyrrhic victory.
Pyrrhic victory. That sounds kind of familiar.
It might. We touched on it briefly earlier.
Ah, yes. It's that idea that sometimes a win can feel like a loss.
Exactly. Like if you win an argument, but it damages your relationship with the other person.
Or if you get a promotion,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes with so much stress and responsibility that you're miserable.
Precisely.
Hmm.
A Pyrrhic victory is a win that comes at such a high cost that it's ultimately not worth it.
So it's a reminder to think carefully about our goals and motivations.
Absolutely. And to consider the potential downsides of achieving them.
Don't get so caught up in the pursuit of victory that you lose sight of what's truly important.
Well said. Okay, ready for another one?
Absolutely. What do we have?
Let's talk about those problems that seem impossible to solve.
Ooh, I know a few of those.
Haha, we all do. And the idiom for that is a Gordian knot.
A Gordian knot. That sounds kind of mythical.
It is. It comes from the legend of Alexander the Great.
Ah, yes, the guy who was famous for conquering pretty much everything in his path.
Exactly. And one of the challenges he faced was this incredibly complex knot that nobody could untie.
I think I remember this story. Didn't he just cut the knot with his sword?
He did. Instead of trying to untangle it in the traditional way, he found a bold and unconventional solution.
Talk about thinking outside the box.
Exactly. So a Gordian knot refers to any problem that seems incredibly difficult or impossible to solve.
And the idiom suggests that sometimes the best way to solve such a problem is not to get bogged down in the complexity, but to find a creative and unexpected approach. It's a reminder that there's always another way, even when things seem impossible.
Well said. Okay, are you ready for our final idiom challenge?
Bring it on. What do we have?
Let's see if you can decipher the meaning of hoist with one's own petard.
Hoist with one's own petard. Wow, that's a mouthful. And honestly, I haven't got a clue what it means.
Aha, no worries. It's definitely one of the more obscure idioms, but it essentially means to be harmed or defeated by one's own schemes or actions.
Ooh, like poetic justice.
Precisely. It's the universe saying, gotcha. Imagine a bully who's constantly picking on others, and then one day they get picked on themselves.
Or a scammer who tries to trick someone online but ends up getting scammed themselves.
Perfect examples. It's about the consequences of our actions coming back to bite us, about those moments when our cleverness backfires spectacularly.
And what about the word petard? What does that even mean?
Ugh, that's where the idiom gets really interesting. A petard was a type of explosive device used in medieval warfare.
So to be hoist with your own petard is like being blown up by your own bomb.
Exactly. It adds a layer of drama and, well, a bit of dark humor to the phrase.
I love it. It's so vivid and memorable.
It is, and it shows how much history and culture is embedded in these idioms.
Okay, I think I'm finally starting to get the hang of this idiom thing.
I think you are. You're recognizing the patterns, the metaphors, the historical context.
It's like learning a secret language.
Absolutely. And the more you learn, the more you'll appreciate the richness and complexity of the English language.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. But before we get too carried away, I think we need to take a short break and let all this information sink in.
Sounds like a good plan. We'll be back soon to wrap up our idiom adventure and leave you with some final thoughts to ponder.
Welcome back, fellow word explorers. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty energized after all those idioms.
Me too. It's like our brains got a good workout.
Seriously. And you know, one thing that really struck me during this deep dive is how many of these idioms connect back to the natural world.
Oh, absolutely. Like we talked about bite the bullet, getting our ducks in a row, hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. We've got long in the tooth, beating a dead horse, a swan song, even a canary in a coal mine.
It's like our language is, well, kind of rooted in these observations of nature, like we're trying to make sense of the world around us through these colorful phrases.
That's a really insightful point. It makes you wonder how many other idioms out there have these hidden connections to, well, to nature, to history, to human behavior.
It's like this whole secret language waiting to be decoded.
Exactly. And that's what makes language learning so fascinating. There's always more to discover, more layers to peel back, more stories to tell.
Speaking of stories, we've explored some pretty epic tales today. I mean, we've gone from battlefield surgery to coal mines to Alexander the Great slicing through that Gordian knot.
Right. It's incredible how these idioms transport us through time, connect us to the past.
It's like they're saying, hey, the challenges we face today, they're not so different from those faced by people centuries ago.
Exactly. We still need courage to, bite the bullet, wisdom to avoid being a wet blanket, and foresight to recognize the canaries in our own lives.
And hey, even when we win, sometimes we need to be careful about those Pyrrhic victories, you know, those wins that come at a really steep cost.
That's so true. It's a good reminder that success isn't always, well, straightforward.
Definitely. But hey, I gotta say, after this deep dive, I feel much more equipped to navigate the ups and downs of life, at
Yep.
least linguistically.
I think we all do. Remember, it's not just about knowing the definition of these idioms. It's about understanding the deeper lessons they offer, right?
Exactly. The insights into human nature, the complexities of life. It's like each idiom is a little piece of a puzzle. And when you put them all together, you start to see this bigger picture, this incredible tapestry of language and culture.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And the amazing thing is, this tapestry is constantly evolving. New idioms are being created all the time, reflecting the changing world around us.
That's so cool. So what's the takeaway for our listeners today?
I'd say keep your ears open, pay attention to those quirky phrases, those unexpected turns of phrase that, well, that make language come alive.
I love that. Be an idiom detective.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to experiment, to play with language, to make it your own. That's how we keep language fresh, vibrant, and full of surprises.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, folks, that's about it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the wonderful world of English idioms. Until next time, keep those ears open and those minds curious.